Tech Cocktail Conversations, candid insights from startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from around the globe.
My name is Dennis O'Leary. I started the company called DarkPulse Technologies. DarkPulse is a distributed fiber sensing company that does structural monitoring in oil and gas. We can monitor pipeline health issues. We also actually work in mine safety and also structural integrity like bridges, roads, and tunnels. For the past 10 years or so, I've actually had an interest in looking at how universities commercialize their intellectual property, and I saw a disconnect. Really I kind of embedded myself in the space between an intellectual property being created through research and development and an actual product, and I kind of got into the commercialization path, and that's what I've done with DarkPulse. I found an intellectual property. I saw that it wasn't being utilized. I saw a market for it, so I actually spun it out of the university and created a company called DarkPulse. For me, it's the business process that I love. So it can be hamburgers or it could be fiber sensors. It doesn't really matter. The structure is really the same and the process is the same. And so is the pitfalls that you run into. It doesn't really matter what you're selling or what you're trying to create. We're all very similar. I just found it interesting that for Phoenix being a large city, the networks here are actually quite small. But I've noticed the people that I know in one network actually know people in another network, so you can almost instantaneously be connected to everybody who's kind of in the entrepreneurial space in a very short period of time, which you don't see that in New York. It would take you years. And I've only been here 6 months. I relocated 6 months ago. So my network here is huge, and so it's just, again, it's an odd phenomenon, but for being a startup or trying to start a new company, Arizona and Phoenix in particular is definitely where to go. I've actually bootstrapped the company myself. So part of it was a lesson learned. My previous startups, I've gotten involved with different venture firms and didn't have a great experience. My belief and what I've run into in the past is if you take capital on too early and too many investors, it's sort of a leash around your neck later. So just when you're starting to make strides, you have this top-heavy situation where you have all these investors, you have all this debt in the company, and then when you go for another round of funding, you can't get it because you can't liquidate the people as much as they're willing to be liquidated when you may reach a critical point. So a lot of companies will just go out there, fundraise, grab a chunk of money, and then start working towards the goal of becoming a real, I guess. And when they get to that point where they actually do need some considerable amount of capital, they can't do it. And pretty much the idea dies right there. So I hate to steal from Steve Jobs, but it does help to be crazy. I've, I guess, made and lost money so many times doing this that it's definitely not the money. And I think if you talk to 99% of the guys or people who are entrepreneurs, it's not about the money. It's just this thing that's kind of in your very essence. I can't put my finger on it. It's one of those things that I think I hate to call it a disease, but it just seems like it can never stop.